Hello, everyone. Welcome to another exciting episode of the Insurance Untangled podcast. I am Naren Arul Raja and one of the co hosts of this podcast dedicated to helping practices that are tangled up with insurance. We have a quarterly event coming up. We're going to have some amazing speakers, including Dr. Howard Farran, Gary Takas, and several others. So you're going to have a treat. It's 3 hours of CE on the 14th of June. We're going to put a link in the show notes, as well as just go to the Insurance Untangled website, insuranceuntangled.com website. So looking forward to seeing you there. 3 hours of CE, tuition is waived. It's on us. So please sign up and let's have some fun on 14th of June from 12 noon. Today I have an awesome guest, and the topic we're going to be talking about is what are umbrella networks or leasing networks? And the person to enlighten us is my dear friend and colleague, Ben Tuinei. Hey, Ben, how are you?
Hey, Naren, great to be with you today.
Yeah, let's jump right in, Ben. So let me ask you the basic question. Why do umbrella networks exist?
Yeah, it's a business model. A lot of insurance plans, particularly the younger ones or the ones that don't have a lot of uh, accounts, patients, or employer groups, those companies typically have a hard time recruiting. So it's kind of like when you fly an aircraft and you go into the smaller commuter jets, like I fly
Yeah.
Delta. And when you get on the smaller aircrafts, like you're doing just a 45-minute connection, the entire crew, even though it's a Delta airplane, well, it has a Delta logo on it, the entire crew is employed by another airline, you know,
Yeah.
but they don't represent themselves. They're representing Delta, right? So they're sort of working on behalf of Delta. And so this is Delta Airlines. So same thing with insurance carriers, where if I have a hard time recruiting doctors, I'm going to pay another company to recruit doctors so that when they enroll those doctors as in-network under their own plan, I will pay a fee for that plan to consider that doctor in-network with my company, right? So that's called a rental or leasing arrangement. I call them umbrella network arrangements in the sense that these PPOs, they enter into relationships with each other to pay a fee for that other company to recruit doctors for me, right? And
Right.
that helps with budgeting for me, in the event where it's so unstable for me to hire people to recruit because the numbers are inconsistent. So I'd rather pay a smaller fee just to rent somebody else's network that's out there to make my network of doctors look bigger, right? So at the end of the day, the importance of that is that when you go to employer groups, I can show an in-network list of all in-network providers that were recruited by me directly, but were also recruited by leasing partners, right? So that list is 3 to 5 times, sometimes 10 times bigger to make it more attractive for an employer to say, yeah, there's a lot of in-network options. Pricing's good. I'll buy, right? So that's sort of the purpose of umbrella networks is to allow PPOs to help each other recruit in-network providers all around.
Thank you. Thank you for that. So is there an efficient way to keep up with an umbrella network relationship?
Yes, pay attention to the notices that you get from every insurance company. Just like we got one a few weeks ago where Guardian and Humana, they entered into a relationship, which means that you could be in network with Guardian or Humana. Or was it Guardian? I know it was Guardian and one other insurance carrier, probably United Healthcare. But when you see those things, you have to always ask, how is this going to affect me, right? And meet with your team members and read through those letters thoroughly. And in essence, what happens is that when you get those notices, and if you don't pay attention to it, let's say you're out of network with Guardian, and then all of a sudden the Guardian says, well, now we're part of the United Healthcare network. So if you're in network with United Healthcare, you could start to see your Guardian claims being paid in network, right? So these are notices that insurance companies are required to send to you. And that's the best way to sort of keep up with relationships is just to pay attention to those notices. Don't ignore them as they come in, and then sort of have a working chart on all your contracts, fee schedules, and relationships just to make sure they're aligned the way you want them to be.
That's perfect. What are some of the most common umbrella networks that exist out there?
Yeah, the big name ones are Carrington, and there's Connection Dental, which also is owned by GEHA, but GEHA has multiple contracting options. So the part about connection is connection. GEHA uses connection and uses Carrington. So you want to understand that difference. So there's Carrington connection, there's Dynamax. In some states, there's the Premier Dental Network, not to be confused with Premier Access in California. Those are two different organizations. There's Dynamax, Premier, there's Mavrist, which also goes by the name Zealous. And then you have smaller leasing relationships where you're, if you're contracted with Aetna, that could include Emeritus, Principal, Guardian, and part of the United Concordia network, right? Same thing with United Concordia. That could include Aetna, Principal, Emeritus, and some other PPO plans as well. You know, so you have a lot of smaller leasing arrangements with like plans like Guardian, Aetna, Cigna, like all of them have some type of leasing arrangement with each other. But the big ones are your Dynamaxes, Connection Dentals, Carrington, Premier Dental Network, and Mavrist, which also goes by the name Zealous.
Right. If you are helping an existing practice that is on every PPO network and every umbrella network, what is your typical approach to help those practices clean up the confusion that's caused by having too many, PPO plans and too many umbrella plans?
Yeah, there are many practices that are in network with every umbrella network. And that's all who they're in network with, plus your Blue Crosses and your Deltas. Delta, for the most part, is one that's not yet using umbrella networks or leasing networks yet, but there is a rumor, and I've actually had personal conversations with Delta people that they are planning on doing leasing arrangements like every other dental plan. But the problem is that if you're on only umbrella networks, then the MetLifes of the world will downgrade you to the lowest possible fee schedule. And sometimes they'll pay off of a different fee schedule for the next claim, right? So that's the problem with umbrella networks, is that you always run the risk of PPOs that use all the umbrella networks downgrading you to the lowest possible fee schedule. So the cleanup work is basically, where do I get the majority of my patients? Like, is it MetLife? Finding those numbers out, at least those dynamics out. The second thing I would do is take a look at, does Aetna use all the umbrella networks? If they do, and you see that pattern, that all the big networks that bring you patients, or at least that represent the patients that you see, if you're finding that they're using every single umbrella network that you're on, you might want to start canceling out the lowest fee schedule network, and then go and then continue that analysis in that path. The idea is to have one or two umbrella network partners to avoid that whole confusing part of MetLife paying on a different fee schedule every single time, right? So having some consistency. You can play the opt-out game and opt out MetLife with all umbrella networks except for the one that's paying the highest, but that's not bulletproof. Like, a lot of times you'll see PPO plans ignore those opt-outs or not even recognize them, right? And you're chasing your tail trying to figure out this whole mess and this whole dynamic. The simplest way to move forward is just to only have 1 to 2 umbrella networks. For me, I would just have one, right? One main umbrella network. It's one fee schedule, so that there's no confusion or no temptation for an insurance company to downgrade you to the lowest possible fee schedule. Now, that's just one example. There are a million other examples where a lot of practices are in network with all dental plans directly, including all umbrella networks. Under those circumstances, you do still tend to find some PPOs bypassing the direct contracting, going to the least, the lowest fee umbrella network, right? So you lose another 20 to 30%. So it requires a lot of time, attention, and focus in terms of cleaning it up, so that you eliminate the option for these PPO plans to downgrade you to a lower fee schedule.
Right. Do you think these umbrella relationships will go up or go down over time?
Yeah, at one point, the umbrella networks sort of were stagnant, right? There were many of them that existed, but you didn't really see a whole lot of progress or change, mainly because a lot of doctors were going in network directly with PPOs. But a lot has happened in the last 4 years, to where a lot of doctors are going out of network, and they're only keeping the highest fee schedule umbrella network. And that has provided a lot of motivation for the insurance industry to increase these umbrella network relationships. So the pattern, as I'm seeing it now, is that these umbrella network relationships or umbrella network contracts are going to increase into the future. which means that Delta Dental very much likely will start playing this same game at some point in the future, which is an indication that their provider network is diminishing as well. And so umbrella networks exist in communities where provider networks tend to suffer, meaning not a lot of doctors are participating with insurance companies directly. And that's exactly what's going on, is there's a lot of doctors going out of network, and now you're seeing umbrella network relationships on the rise around the country.
I'm not a fan of umbrella networks just because of the horror stories I've heard from all my clients. What's your take on it, Ben?
Yeah, there are pros and cons with them. Like the pro is you could utilize the umbrella networks and reverse engineer the strategy that they're using against you, which is they're forcing you to take the lowest possible fee schedules, right?
Right.
And that the whole design from an umbrella network is to avoid paying you higher out-of-network reimbursements. So therefore, capturing in-network on any fee schedule at a discounted rate is a good thing for insurance companies. So if you reverse that strategy and you use a good umbrella network partner and you understand the dynamics of how umbrella networks work, it could be the best thing for your practice to, as it pertains to sort of getting off of PPOs over time, right? Is first consolidating down to a single umbrella network partner, maybe as a stepping stone towards out of network, but possibly even a permanent structure if the fees are right, right? So in that scenario, umbrella networks can be very beneficial and friendly to you. In most situations, umbrella networks are a nightmare, and I'm not a very big fan of that, but I think it's mostly a function of education, understanding, and that's not an insult to people that deal with umbrella networks and are confused. We all, I mean, it's easy to sort of get bogged down in that world. So my best advice is just to simply look at those relationships from the perspective of if it's going to really benefit you, talk to an expert to learn more about how they work in an effort for you to kind of simplify those relationships. But otherwise, be careful of the traps of umbrella networks, especially if you're doing 2 or more. That's usually when umbrella network relationships become a nightmare. And then cleaning that up, it takes over a year to clean up umbrella network structures in a way that's going to be beneficial for you. But that cleanup work can be a nightmare too. Just be patient with that cleanup work, whether you're doing it on your own or working with another company. No matter what the company is, if they really understand umbrella network relationships, you'll find that if you intend to maximize the use of them, they can be very helpful.
Thank you, Ben. Any final thoughts as we bring this to a close?
Yeah, I recognize that this stuff can be sort of overwhelming. They're overwhelming for me and for our company, the ones that sort of help clean this stuff up for doctors across the country. But I'm an open book when it comes to these types of things, and I know that there are a lot of questions surrounding umbrella networks, whether they're a good idea, bad idea, how to transition out of them. And of course, if you're faced with those challenges and you have questions, just send me an email. I'd be totally happy to sort of provide any helpful answers that'll sort of help you unwind the mess that umbrella networks can give you. So best email for me is just my work email, ben@veritasdentalresources.com.
Ben@veritasdentalresources.com. Thank you so much, Ben, for that wonderful conversation about umbrella networks. If you enjoyed this podcast, please write a review for us on iTunes or Google. We are also now available on YouTube podcasts. You can listen to this episode and all prior episodes by going to YouTube. You can also subscribe to us on the YouTube channel by following @Insurance Untangled and hit the notification bell to stay updated on the latest episodes and content. Till we meet again, have a wonderful, amazing week ahead.